That's the only part of the process I remember from testing was the oral board for us.
Yeah.
That was the only painful
Yeah.
part of the process.
An interview.
All right. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Drug screen update. So if you recall, we had implemented the marijuana rule change. We adopted it on February 12th. And so the system is in full swing. The questions are updated. It says, as of the date of your application, have you used, purchased, or possessed, right, marijuana? And if you say no, then you could consider, like, it's not a disqualification. But if you said yes, so meaning to say you might have applied this afternoon, if you possessed, used, or
Sold.
not sold, used, purchased,
The former police officer that's sold.
not sold. I have to be very clear on that one. If used, purchased, or possessed this morning, then you could be disqualified, right? And so, but what we had also committed as a risk mitigation strategy is to continue with the drug screen, right? And so we are in that phase of determining what a healthy process for the drug screen is, because we don't want to say you could be qualified and then all of a sudden we start denying, right? But we also want to make sure that we have a healthy process in place to check whether or not somebody, because it's self-attestation in the beginning, right? And so we have to have some method of validating at the tail end. So if a candidate receives a conditional offer, then we refer them to the medical examination, fingerprint, and drug screen. That initial referral to drug screen is called initial testing, right? We test by process hair follicle, a sample size of 3 centimeters in length.
No, it's not.
3 centimeters in length of hair follicle. Now,
They don't just yank it out.
no, they don't just yank it out. It has to be head hair. But they are able to work with body hair if head hair is not available. And then if hair sample is unavailable, then currently the team has let me know it hasn't happened recently, in at least that you guys can recall, that we had to refer to urine test, right? Right. But so we're trying to find a path for now, because if we want to make sure that we are being reasonable, right? So if hair samples isn't available, then we want to create a pathway for urine test. So that's at initial testing. So we're going to focus more a little bit on the hair sampling. So if the hair sample is positive for marijuana, we will refer them to a second testing. A second testing now becomes sectional, because scientifically, according to our engagement with the clinical department of our vendor, plus a publication that they've shared with us, section testing is more reliable in determining sort of the time period of use. So remember, in the first testing, we're collecting a 3 centimeter long hair follicle, head hair. In the second testing, they will then test the 1.3 centimeter of that hair sample that is closest to the scalp. A positive test result of that second testing is a high probability that the candidate has used marijuana in the last 30 days. So, Greg's marinating.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the path is, if the result of the retest or the second testing, the sectional testing, test positive, we will automatically rescind the conditional offer, because the likelihood of them getting to a post conditional drug screen within 30 days from date of application is slim to none, because of by virtue of our process. Right now, if they test negative, keep in mind they tested positive on the first testing and they test negative on the second testing, there may or may not be a probability that they've still used within the last 31 to 90 days, at which point we will then share the results with EDOS so that they can take a look at, is this a risk that they want to take? Because at the end of the day, it's about suitability at that point, right? based on the candidate files. I can't speak on their behalf, but you know, if something in the file already like sort of initially flagged, but they were willing to give a chance, and then here comes a positive
Take the
marijuana.
whole picture.
Correct. So,
Just a yes, no
uh-huh.
Okay.
Because then they'll determine suitability because the selection is theirs if they want to do a final offer or not. Now in the event that a candidate doesn't have the hair sample, so we route them to the urine test. If that urine test tests positive, we will automatically rescind the offer because there's not a way to section that. Now there was a question brought by police department, and because we had asked them to review sort of this process along with EDOS to make sure that before I presented them to you, that they have been able to take a look at it and give their feedback. So the feedback that the question that we received is, what can a candidate appeal a result, right? And absolutely, like any of our test results, a candidate can appeal because, I mean, we all know drug tests, there are also false positives. So on that end, if false positive, most likely we will ask for a new sample and refer them. Now, we did try to explore for the candidates to pay for that. But right now, like all our other vendors, there is not an ability for a vendor to bill the candidates directly. So if we approve of the appeal, we probably are going to assume the cost in the time being. Right. And I did share sort of this deck to the Public Safety Committee chair for her feedback because it was one of the action item that she had requested from the last checkpoint with her, and she did not have any further questions for city council. Yes.
It's HDD. The ball is good here.
So just high level on the cost, initial testing is 42, second testing is 60 if it's the same sample. Retesting for a new sample is 125. Okay. All right, next slide, please. And nope, one more, back, please. Internal staffing update. Welcome to Alexandra Ali Kehoe. She's joining us as the new, did I say your last name right? I've never asked. Okay. She is joining us as one of our new senior HR data analysts as of this Monday. So,
Thank you.
Welcome. And Colorado?
Yeah, I've never been here before a couple days ago. So yeah,
Welcome to Denver.
thank you.
Weather's always this great.
I think Minnesota, like, it'll be right. Like, she's not expecting like sunny. Uh-huh.
Right.
Uh-huh.
To be amongst we hope. Yeah, I feel like related, right? I mean, when the city attorney agrees.
Right.
That's the force of law.
It's an easy drive. All right. Thank you so much. That is it. If there are no other questions on the updates.
Thank you. Thanks for the thorough conversation about hair follicles. Okay.
Moving along.
We're gonna actually, yeah, exactly. Moving along. I actually don't have the language for the proposed rule change. Do I need to read that? Okay.
It's in the presentation.
There's a presentation.
Yes, there's a presentation.
Okay, so this is back to you. I'm sorry. I thought I was stepping in. Okay.
No worries. Okay, so on the next item on the agenda is a proposed change to the Rule 2 meetings for Civil Service Commission. Next slide, please. So the Civil Service Commission holds 2 public meetings per month on the average. These public meetings are critical to ensure transparency in the agency's decision-making and allow for the public to access information about agency actions. While it remains imperative for members of the board to attend in person, And that remains to be the goal. It is prudent for the agency to develop a business continuity plan to minimize disruption of carrying out its mission due to a member's reasonable inability to meet such a requirement at any given time. These proposed changes continue to adhere to Robert's Rule of Order, which governs the agency's meeting rules and aligns with the current Denver City Council rules on meetings.
The council has made this exact same.
Correct. And be it known that we worked with our city attorney's office for these proposed recommendations. So anyway, the impacted rule is Rule 2, Section 3, meetings. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so Rule 2, Section 3, subsection D, the current language is Robert's Rule of Order shall guide the commission in its proceedings except as otherwise provided herein. All commission members, including the president, shall have a vote, and each may record in the minutes approval of or dissent from any action of the commission together with the reasons thereof. In the event of a tie vote, the motion shall fail. That is our current rule. The proposed recommendation is an update to the language. Retaining the other language, we want to add a language to clarify the number of votes required to pass a motion. Right, so then the rule will say, will include a language that says, when a quorum is present, 3 votes shall be necessary for the adoption of any motion that is in order.
Mhm.
Because you need 3 for quorum, right?
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry?
You could have like you do 1 vote for 3 commissioners.
If the rule is now 3 votes is required, then yes, if there's a quorum of 3 people and 2 voted yay, 1 voted no, then it would not pass. You can approach it however you want.
It would not pass.
You need at least
So you
3.
need 3 of the 5 to vote yay.
Yes, regardless of the number
Of people that are in attendance.
of the votes cast is. I think that agrees.
Right, because I think when we were talking about it, the commission, whenever the commission makes a decision, the decision has to have the vote of the quorum, right? Like the majority vote. So if 3 people are in attendance and only 2 voted yay and 1 voted nay, that too does not constitute the majority of the board of the commissioners.
So in cases where we've only had 3, only the unanimous vote.
Correct.
passes.
Correct. That would be the clarification that is intended on this one.
All right. Well, let me
But-
clarify.
oh, hold on.
If you wanted to, you could have a rule. Quorum was 3 and you wanted a majority vote to be passage, then it'd be 2 votes. The way,
Hopefully-
as an example, the way the city council
Mhm.
is
7.
It's 7, no matter how many of us. So that's the way they have chosen to write their rules for what passage.
Okay, so we were mimicking after that, but
But we can adopt.
thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying that. I think it's interesting, right? Because the change that we're also making is that we're able to attend virtually, which will, the expectation is that, right? Is that will increase participation because folks who are traveling will be able to call in.
Vote.
But the
And
worry and vote and actually have their vote counted, not just call. So we're doing both, right? We're 1 saying that you can vote virtually, but then 2, we're saying that you have to have 3+ on any motion, any vote for it to pass. Do we want to keep that level of, or change that level? Because then if we only have 3 people on a call, then we're not moving things forward still. So are we addressing the issue that we were trying to, which is trying to address the board being a barrier to progress in the
I think-
process?
I think it's a good question, but I don't think we really want to get to the point where 2 people can advance a candidate.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to do
And
that.
that's where we
So,
have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, I don't think we want to do that anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Greg on that. I think that opens up too many questions as to the appropriateness of that for the board.
Yeah.
So maybe we need
Because
to
we've,
hold
you know,
ourselves.
we've operated a lot where we've only had 3 members who are able to show
Right.
in person, which then meant that a 2-1 moved forward.
I think part of the consideration also is to encourage the board's attendance to ensure that things are moving forward, right? Like, and yes, sir. And again, you know, to Brian's point, we can certainly put in a language that 3 constitutes a quorum, and that it's the rule of the majority present. We can do that as well. But then the flip side to that is down the line, absent of all of us, if a decision was made and the record shows it was only 2 versus 1, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I am fine with it, but I just wanted us to all, as a board,
Yeah.
be very clear of what we're doing.
think
Because
the
we're,
fact that, you know, if I'm in Sarasota, Florida, I can still vote, you know, do the work, and my vote count, like, I'll be able to participate almost always.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
cool.
For whatever the commission side on that. I guess my thought is though, like, for instance, right now, we have 4 members,
5 now, technically.
yeah, but I mean, like, what I would say, but like, we have 4 here and, you know, I mean, I would say like, we've had 4 for a bit and we have things like that. I would say that unlike city council, who, you know, has is their full-time job, a staff member, that, like, I can't think the last time we had 5 members at a meeting. And I would say that city council, the council's great. The city has not always expedited getting folks in this position for whatever reason, right? Whether it be application and things like that.
Mhm.
And if we're in a situation, let's just say that hypothetically, you know, because you and I have come up at the same time, let's say that neither of us got renewed or something like that. And if I would hate for someone who is in a 2-1 opposition to feel like I need to change my vote because
otherwise we can't move forward.
yeah, and I think I wouldn't want to do that, but I will
Valid.
I just want to make sure that we get in
Yeah.
commission members, we get 5 here, it's great and all that, and it don't work.
But it's
And
great.
I also think it's a matter of being fair to the candidate, right? Like, I think we have to do everything we can to be as fair to the candidates as possible. Like having a candidate denied with 2 of 5 commissioners just doesn't feel right. Like I would hate to have to explain that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. So.
Okay.
So where are we coming
What-
down on this?
What, how about, much like what the commission is doing right now, is making changes and tracking it. For the time being, let's stick with the language that is proposed and then let's track it. And if, to Noah's point, we do come up against these, then as a responsible commission, we'll readdress it. Is that fair? Yeah. Valid points.
All right. All points noted. We will retain the proposed language and commit to a periodic review of its impact. And at any given time, the commission can always choose to amend and update its rules. City attorney? Good. Awesome. Okay. Next, Rule 2, Section 3, subsection E, quorum. The current language says 3 members of the commission shall constitute a quorum. The proposed is just a proposed additional language. So original language being retained, but just clarifying quorum. Just so there's no ambiguity. A quorum we will add, so then it'll say 3 members of the commission shall constitute a quorum. A quorum shall be established before any action can be taken by the commission. All right. Next slide, please. All right, so these are proposed additions to the Rule 2, Section 3. We are proposing to add a subsection G that says electronic participation by the commission. Any member may participate in a meeting, including any public hearings, by electronic means pursuant to Rule 2, Section 3, Sub H, because we propose to add a subsection H that is the notification and approval of electronic participation. We patterned this very much likely with City Council's rules. Notification and approval of electronic participation for any reason must be submitted by the commission to the executive director via email no later than 2 hours before the start of the meeting. Request shall indicate which meeting, because it has to be specific. It cannot be a blanket approval to attend all meetings. So you have to specifically request which meeting you would like to attend in person. So again, request shall indicate which meeting or meetings the member would like to attend via electronic means. Requests submitted less than 2 hours before the start of the meeting will not be accepted and the member may not participate electronically. The president shall have the discretion to approve or deny requests submitted less than 2 hours before the start of the meeting in an extraordinary situation or if a member's attendance is required to achieve quorum. Because again, the whole intent is business continuity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do electronic, but I'm not in this meeting.
Tonight.
And I'll always remind you before 2 hours. Okay, so our proposed, if the board approves for us to move forward with the rule change, our proposed timeline is that we've began to kind of take a look at this in February and then through today. So we did, the agency along with and partnering with city attorney reviewed all the rules, drafted the language. The city attorney reviewed the draft that we presented to you this afternoon. And so looking for sort of the posting of the notice and the public hearing between the dates of 3/19 to 4/9/2025. And then posting of amendments made, which should be minimum of 5 days, all the way to final adoption for the remainder of April. So there is a likelihood if there are no, unforeseen circumstances, objections, etc., and the board wishes to withdraw, like if that doesn't happen, we could potentially have this new rule in place as of May 1st.
Okay.
So then requesting the board for next slide, please. So decision request, Civil Service Commission is seeking its Board of Commissioners approval to initiate the rulemaking process permitted under Rule 2, Section 4, Subsection A. Commissioners, decision, please.
We don't have to make a motion, right, or anything. We just have to agree. You would. Hmm.
Move that we approve the amendment.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Good.
All right, we will proceed and we will keep you posted. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move into commission review of candidates. Before we do that, I think that there are just a couple of comments in the chat, and I just wanted to make sure that we read them. Is that what I'm seeing? I'm so blind.
I think there was a comment that somebody was having trouble with the sound.
Oh, sorry.
And Brandon has sort of assisted, but the caption is on, so they're able to read if they cannot hear the sound. And then some has responded that they're able to hear.
So, okay.
Great.
So we've
Brandon.
turned on transcription, so if they can't hear, they're able to read.
Thanks, Brandon. Okay, thanks. I'm just hanging. All right, let's move into voting on candidates. No, are you gonna be voting?
No.
So it's the three of us. You can just say Moore, Miller, Foster, and we'll prompt us that way.
All right, we'll just go by that order. So we'll
Yeah.
start with Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Foster. Not yet, haven't called the candidate name. I just wanted to make sure.
It's Craig's favorite part.
All right, we're gonna start with candidate number 212487. Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Foster.
Pass.
Candidate 648884.
Pass.
Pass.
Candidate 335343.
Pass.
Candidate 308583.
Pass.
Candidate 336281.
Fail.
So this would be an example when we wouldn't move on this candidate, just based on the
Yeah, we would, because it was 2 passes and a fail.
Our rules hasn't changed yet.
Yeah, I'm just giving an example of the future state of
Ah,
it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Candidate 310615.
I'm a fail.
Candidate 232104.
Pass.
Candidate 335854.
Pass.
Candidate 328116.
Pass.
Candidate 340422.
Pass.
Candidate 308570.
Pass.
Candidate 317469.
Fail.
Candidate 227418.
Fail.
Candidate 61149.
Fail.
Candidate 139064.
Fail.
Candidate 175370.
Fail.
Candidate 116014.
Fail.
Sorry. Yeah.
Fail.
Candidate 185498.
Fail.
Candidate 176401.
Fail.
Candidate 333428.
Pass.
Candidate 329024.
Pass.
Candidate 332925.
Pass.
Candidate 308823.
Pass.
Candidate 327573.
Pass.
Candidate 57930.
Pass.
That concludes our voting. No need to count.
That's the most fails I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like, that was a lot of crazy folks in that mix.
But please also know that we are processing 3 academies, so you're seeing more preliminary reviews versus deliberative.
Gotcha.
Whereas usually we've done
Yeah.
just in the last few months just for police.
And this was a big bucket.
Yeah.
But very impressive candidate. And the ones that we passed, I thought that they were
Rightfully so.
really, yeah.
Yeah, I love the recruiting numbers going up.
Point.
I love that.
All right. Yeah, I just need to make a motion, right? Oh, I don't.
Because we
right,
voted
'cause
in
Bob said we're doing it in public, so we're good. All right, with that, we'll ask, anybody who's in attendance if they'd like to make any comments. All right, hearing none, seeing no hands up, I'll make a motion to conclude the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Steve Foster. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, folks, thank you.